And as we go through that fire, gold, silver, and precious stones will come forth. In other words, our true selves will finally be made complete and made whole.
be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves for the podcast?
I'm Brian Daniloski of the band Darsombra.
I'm Ann Everton, also of the band Darsombra.
So right now we are in JB in Malaysia, where you guys played the last show of your Malaysian tour. I guess currently midway through your Southeast Asian tour, which is very trippy for me for several reasons, because it's I used to see you at CBGBs like maybe 20 years ago, and now somehow you're here. So it's a weird feeling for me, because it's like the two parts of my life have somehow like crossed over into each other. Let's start with how this Southeast Asian tour came about. Who organized it, and how did you end up here?
It's trippy for me too. Yeah, it came.
The tour?
So a friend of mine, two things happened. A friend, an old bandmate from Meatjack, moved to Indonesia, and he's involved in independent music and going to shows, and even started a label over there. And so we'd always talk like, oh, you're in Indonesia now. Now we have an excuse to come visit you, and maybe we'll play some shows while we're there. And he's like, yeah, I can point you in the direction of some shows. And we're like, what? So there was that. And then at the same time, an old friend, Zachy, from KL, he was just a fan of my old band. We would write letters back and forth, and then the internet happened, and we became friends on Facebook, and so we stayed in contact all these years. And then, when it was looking like we might, we were just kind of joking about, hey, we might come over to play in shows in Indonesia. And he's like, well, you should play shows in Malaysia while you're there, because it's not that far away, And so all of a sudden it just transpired that we're like, oh, wow, we have friends in like two areas that can hook us up with a string of shows or point us in the right direction. And then while we were doing that, another friend knew that we were going to be touring here, and we had played with his band, Queen Elephantine, in Providence, Rhode Island. And he's like, oh, one of my ex-bandmates just moved to Vietnam. He can hook you up with shows there too. So it was just all that came together. And then so that was, it was just like slowly a dream was, starting to materialize into something a little more real. And then we had my cat of 17 years died back in December, and then it was like this whole thing like, okay, well now we don't have to worry about, taking care of an elderly cat. We can go anywhere. Let's do anything. So let's shoot the moon. Let's do that Southeast Asia tour that we've been talking about forever. So.
Did you know anything about the region before you got here?
The region? Anything about it? Very little. Very, very little. There were just.
You've never been here before?
Never been here before. Never been to Southeast Asia. And had been to Japan, and I think that was about it. So, yeah, we didn't have much to go on other than, our friend JR, he would come back to visit the States because his family's still there in the Baltimore area, and, he would show us pictures and just tell us stories, and so that's about all we knew.
What were you expecting?
Well, he said the live music scene was alive and well, and that was a lot of fun, and people were very enthusiastic about bands and shows, and also that like something to the effect of I think like noise and metal and hardcore and all that were like kind of big and happening here. And so I was like, well, we fit somewhere in that, vaguely, mostly from my old ties, but, close enough, so there we go.
How have the shows been so far? I mean, this was your last day of your Malaysian tour, and you started in Malaysia. I mean, not knowing what to expect, were the shows good? Were they crazy?
The shows have been nothing but fun. We've had a really, really good time with these last 5 shows. I think that someone had told us, someone who had been to lots of shows here, maybe our friend JR, had told us to expect a different kind of crowd in Malaysia than in Indonesia. Like maybe a little bit more like chin scratching. Perhaps.
That wasn't JR that said that, but yes, it was another friend that we talked to that had done shows over here. He said it was, he called it more bearded, hipstery, vinyl collector types or whatever,
okay.
as opposed to whatever Indonesia, where he just said, crazy. You don't know what the heck to expect. You'll be playing a show and a goal to walk across the stage or whatever. Maybe the mayor of the town will make a speech before your concert or something. So that was I don't remember who told us that. Just as soon as we announced this show, we just all of a sudden people came out of the woodwork like, oh, I've been there, or I have a friend that went there, and we just asked everybody, we wanted to what can we expect? What should we look out for? What should we do? What shouldn't we do? So we got all kinds of strange advice.
Yeah, we really didn't know what to expect. And I think the cool thing has been since we've gotten here that any advice that we've gotten that's been well, watch out for this, watch out for that. It's been really chill. We haven't really had to watch out for too much outside of is there a bathroom in the restaurant? Other than that, it's been chill.
I've had to watch out for monkeys because they've tried to attack me twice now.
He says try to attack him. He engages.
They had it coming.
That's just so we're making friends.
Yeah.
The scope of this Malaysian tour is a little bit astounding to me. I mean,
yeah,
you had a local guy set up the tour, but even so, you've been to as many places, as many places in Malaysia as I have, and I'm Malaysian. I mean, you did Penang, you did Ipoh, you almost did Malacca, you did JB, you did Kuantan. I mean, most bands will play KL and maybe JB, or they'll do KL, JB, and I think I think Kailasa may have made it all the way to Borneo and done Sarawak.
Sabah.
Yeah,
That's where we're going next time.
Yeah.
Sabah.
but I mean, you guys did a lot of dates.
yeah.
It's our nature. When we go on tour, we like to make sure that there's no rock left unturned.
Yeah.
So, when we tour the U.S. or last year we toured Canada, we just kind of make sure that we get as many shows as we can, which on the one hand maybe isn't a good thing because it splits up the draw. Maybe if we just play the KL show, there would be a lot more people coming out to that would travel to KL for the show. But it's the first time we're here. We don't always have faith in ourselves to bring a lot of people out, especially if we've never been somewhere before. And we're also adventurers. We kind of want to see what the world has to offer, which might mean to travel to somewhere that to some people may feel quite remote just because, somebody wants to see a show. As long as we got one person in the audience, we're happy, so.
Yeah, and we learned really quick touring the States, sometimes some of the best shows are
Middle of nowhere.
not, all the tried and true and big places that you expect. You play somewhere in the middle of the Iowa and all of a sudden it's off the wall, and people are just hanging from the rafters and going crazy, and then you go play whatever, Brooklyn, and it's a few people there with their arms folded, Not all the time. No offense to Brooklyn. We've had some awesome, great shows there.
Yeah, we've had some really
But
good
I'm just I'm just saying sometimes it behooves
Maybe
us.
LA would be a better one.
Sometimes it behooves us to go, get in a little deeper, and I don't know, people seem to appreciate it. So.
It's a cultural thing too. We are constantly reminded that, it's a big world, but human beings have a lot in common no matter where you are. There's going to be someone who hates their job. There's going to be someone who's just fallen in love. There's going to be someone who is extremely sexually frustrated. Who knows what? These things happen everywhere. Not to say that, there's a universal approach to reality, but it's a comforting thing. As Brian said earlier today, it restores his faith in humanity to go around everywhere he can and find that people love live music and they want a show, and we want to give it to them.
You guys do give people a show, and you give a show that not a lot of touring bands give, in the sense that there is an audiovisual aspect to your show. It's not just you guys playing. There's a whole video component to it, a backdrop that plays while you guys are playing. How did that come about? Because I do remember Meatjack had videos in the background as well.
Yeah, it's that's
almost coincidentally, but not.
Yeah. No, I've always been a huge. My first ever concert as a little kid was 1977. I saw Kiss, and so I don't know. That was ingrained in me at a very early age. These big shows with more to it than just people standing there playing on stage. And so we kind of brought that element to my old band Meatjack. And then eventually we stopped doing it because I think some of the members of the band wanted to focus more on the music and not so much the smoke and mirrors, which is cool. I understand. I can totally understand that. Sometimes it's it's a lot of hassle dealing with setting up a bunch of projectors and just having it work right night to night.
Well, particularly because you guys were using film projectors, which is, you need a separate projectionist to be touring with the band. Yeah,
it was a whole, that guy had more shit to set up than anybody in the band,
And that guy happens to be our friend in Bandung.
Yes, and, but So with Darsombra, it started out just as a one-person band, and for like 10 years, that was sort of kind of what it was, or 5 years, depending on how you count it. And then I met Ann, and we started dating, and she did video art. But it's funny, I think it was like a year or two, we didn't even,
It didn't even occur to us.
to collaborate. She did her thing, and I did my thing, and then it was a friend of ours that said, was curating an event, and she was like, "Why don't you show your visuals while Brian does his soundscapes or whatever they were." And so we did that, and it was like, oh, this is kind of like a perfect match, and so it just kind of went from there that we started incorporating the visuals into the band, and then eventually Ann got on stage doing music as well. But
At the suggestion of another friend, something that would not have occurred to me, but we've had these really great, awesome, strong female supporters over the years who have just told us, like, keep going, keep going. I'm sure there are male ones too, but these two women really jump out at me. My friend Selena Schreier, who was a musician, she's a musician and a performer as well, and our friend Carly Patak, another musician and performer. Carly said that I must get on stage even if I'm not doing anything. I must be on stage. I can't just be in the back by the projector watching the show. So I thought, well, I'm not going to just be on stage and, as our friend Kristen says, titty my way on stage. I'm going to play an instrument too. The synthesizer made sense to me as an instrument to learn because although I was raised in musical environments, I was raised singing in church choirs, I was raised playing the violin, I never connected with music when I was young and being trained in it. I always connected with music, like with rock music and particularly rap. Like I only wanted to listen to rap until I was in my early 20s. And then somehow prog made its way in with Rush and all of that. But I was always passionate about music. I just never thought that was available to me. But then going on tour with Brian as a projectionist and a video artist, whatever I wanted to call myself, I would see band after band of these dudes that I could tell they just started playing their instrument 2 weeks ago. And I thought, shit, this can't be that hard. So the synthesizer to me is like a camera. There are, parameters that you set to determine the end result. And with a synth, it can be like that. Like it can be something where I just could play one note and then fiddle with knobs, and that will be intriguing enough. But I've always enjoyed playing piano by ear, so it's fun to actually gussy it up a bit. And I mean, it's only been 5 years, but it's really fun to work on that and have that medium as something for your life. We aren't really choosing to have children in this lifetime. I like kids, but it's just not for me. And so having an instrument as a creative outlet, besides my outlet as an artist making video, has been really, really, really cathartic. It's been really rewarding. And I thank Brian, really, because he's the one that's teaching me, even though he won't admit that.
Do you create the videos specifically for the live show, or are there videos created for songs that we don't see live?
Nah, it's all one. Basically, it's kind of like a reverse soundtrack process where the song, Brian begins composing a song, which really, there's no other way to put it. It's kind of like it's downloaded to him, perhaps with the help of some recreationally legal, in some states, substance. In some countries, some states. But he comes up with these themes musically, and I kind of help flesh them out here and there and write my own parts, and we put together a demo, and then I listen to that, and then I compose video. So it's unlike a soundtrack where the video is made and the music is made to fit that. It's kind of more like a video track where the music is made and then the video sort of teases out either a narrative or a visual theme or certain colors. It's a fun, intuitive practice that, I feel like it's kind of like a purpose on this earth. And it goes beyond just my ego being like, look at me, I know how to make a thing, to what information does this outside force that's channeling through me want me to say and to portray and to give to people as a gift. I'm kind of the middleman here.
It reminds me of a few modern directors have done, like avant-garde directors have done something similar where they'll create a movie and then they'll have either a live orchestra or a band play to the movie as the movie's being screened. But, you know, traditionally, all the old silent films had an organist who would
Yes.
perform with the film, and that's kind of what it reminded me of. So you had a film playing and then you had a live band composing the soundtrack to it.
That's really, really cool. I never thought of it that way, but I really like that. Because we're both big fans of, I mean, we haven't seen a ton of silent movies, but I really enjoy Metropolis. And recently, a friend of ours was showing Phantom of the Opera in Baltimore, the silent film, and he did a live soundtrack, well, not live, but a recorded soundtrack of Darsombra music, mostly very ambient stuff from before I joined the band. It was so cool, though. So cool.
As far as the live performance, well, I guess both the recorded music and the live performance, is the visual aspect important? Would I get the same experience with my eyes closed as I would with my eyes open?
Depends how active of an imagination you have, I guess.
Or how high you are.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like the music I write is already kind of the music we write is like very. It's like,
Cinematic.
yeah, it's cinematic, evocative, moody, any of that kind of stuff, you know. So I think so. I think the live show is just it's like the bonus, you know. Like you can, but I feel like any good band, it's like that. Even if they don't have a visual element, you know. It's like I really like a band from Philadelphia called Stinking Lizaveta, and they're awesome on their records. But to see them making that music in front of you live, and to see what these people are doing, pouring into their music and pouring into their, you know, their art is just, you know, it's a live show thing that can only be experienced in that time. But yeah, I still think you can go home and have a really good time with the records too.
It's not just the video playing in the background. You guys also, I mean, I don't want to use the word costumes, but you dress up.
Oh, we totally wear costumes.
Yes.
It's okay. You know, in my mind, like,
You can call them costumes.
these costumes aren't quite as elaborate as previous costumes we've had, just because the key to this tour, I think, was simplification. But they are our superhero costumes. Like, if we're gonna get on stage and act a fool, we gotta put on superhero costumes to do it. So yeah, the costumes are a thing. Movement is a thing. The more we perform a song, the more it sort of gets subtly choreographed. I personally take a lot of inspiration from like 70s era ZZ Top performances, just because there's a lot of coordinated movement that is also, it's coordinated between the members of the band, but also to the music. That to me, I mean, let's give them a show, you know? Let's give it 100%. So the more we play a song, it's kind of fun. Like, first the song finds its existence as a song, and then it finds its visual existence, and then through performance it starts to find a dance and like a physical movement expression. Like, we're working on a new song right now. The song is done. It took about 4 years. It's 40 minutes long. It's our next album. It's very long-winded. The video I've been working on for almost a year. It's maybe about 60% done. And we've started performing it, even with the half-done video, maybe 6 months ago. And I'm starting to see like the archetypes that we espouse in the song and the movements of those archetypes slowly come together. So I love to perform that one. We performed it in KL. They said, more, and we said, okay, you have an option. We can play you a 12-minute song. No! We can play you a 20-minute song. No! We can play you a 40-minute song. Yeah! We're like, you asked for it. Thanks for humoring us.
You mentioned becoming superheroes while you perform. Would you say, because you mentioned Kiss, would you say there are just Darsombra characters?
Oh,
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
we gotta come up with names.
they're not nearly as conceptualized as, you know,
Oh, we gotta work on
Spaceman and Star Child and the Demon and the Catman and all that. But yeah, it's definitely. I feel like when I play, it's like I sort of go into another place. It's like my alter ego, and you know, it's like a
Much less shy version.
yeah,
of
much
who we
less
are.
much less shy version of who we are. Just yeah, so. Yeah, now we're allowing ourselves to get, you know, kind of outrageous with it, because we did it a little bit and we saw how good of a response it got, so we're like,
But there's more to
let's
it
just
than
keep
that.
getting crazier.
Because, I mean, performance, particularly in the genre that we choose to perform, which for simplicity, I'll call it rock and roll. Like, there's a lot of self-aggrandizing. There's a lot of making yourself, you know, the coolest thing, and look at me, I'm so great, and feed my ego and everything. And it's not like, I don't feel like our purpose of performance is like that. Like, I feel like our purpose of performance is actually to give. Like, whether it's giving just entertainment and being an entertainer, which, you know, is an ancient tradition, or whether it's giving people like a reminder, hey, you can be a big fucking freak on stage and make completely obtuse music and confuse people and, you know, make them scratch their heads, and you're still a valid human being. In fact, we dare you to, like, shock us. Like, the thing that bothers me the most about current music right now, and I say this understanding that I'm gonna come off as an old lady.
It's okay, my entire blog is about complaining about young people and what they listen to. So.
I like the young people, but I don't like what's coming out musically right now, except for what I'm seeing in more DIY circles, because nothing threatens me. When I was a child, people were threatened by NWA, and people were threatened by even like mundane, like they were threatened by Ozzy Osbourne. Now he's, you know, a lovable character on the television. I'm like, when are you going to do something that actually makes people like shook up out of their comfort zone, whatever that is? And I mean, it's not that we do that, but I would love to think that someone would see us, you know, waving that freak flag and think, okay, I'm going to go out and do something that's lovingly threatening. Like, we're not trying to, like, destroy anything, except for the patriarchy, of course, always. But, just keep me on my toes, people. Come on, I'm getting bored here.
To that point, and touching on some of the stuff we talked about, that's one of the reasons why I think it's important for a band like Darsombra to come through KL and come through Malaysia. Because, we've been going through this, everything is old school now.
Yeah.
There are old school death metal bands, there are old school crossover bands, there are old school
80s
hardcore bands.
era,
Everyone, it's drag. Drag as in, like, everyone's dressing up like the back of a Creator album, or the back of a Megadeth album, or the back of a DRI album. You know what I mean? They're like dressing up in their parents' clothes. And there are no new ideas. Everything is recycled.
Yeah.
Every band is named after a song by their favorite band. And every single song that they play sounds like that band's songs. And then at the end of the set, they'll cover that band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's one long...
Homage.
Basically, yeah. And a lot of it is cultural, because Kale is going through a period of, we've got this new, and this is, like I said, my whole blog is about me, like, complaining about young people. This is my old man shakes his fist moment. It's basically, we've got this nouveau riche class, which doesn't believe in anything that doesn't have a monetary value to it. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why we get so many crossover bands, we get so many old school death metal bands, is because that's what's popular. And people want to do something that's already popular. And, we were talking about who is Darsombra going to play with when they play Malaysia. We don't have a single band like Darsombra. Yeah. And as you pointed out, there are no bands like Darsombra.
We have some fellow freaks that we, like, carefully find, like, literally under rocks in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's a band called Rucksack out of, like, the Poconos. And we played a show with them in Norfolk years ago, and we've connected with them. And they're doing a very interesting glam, drag,
psychedelic,
mushroom head thing. I don't know. What they're doing is really great. I really enjoy that. And every now and then we'll find other bands that actually intrigue us, particularly in Canada, for some reason. Last year we played 16 shows coast to coast across Canada. And there were many nights where I was packing up my gear during the bands, as I often do, where I had to just stop and just watch this band having this, like, moment of universal consciousness on the stage. I mean, it wasn't like they were playing yoga music. They could be doing, like, whatever goofy 80s era style heavy metal, but they did their own thing. They did something to make it theirs, which it took it a step past homage. Because I like the homage. I definitely appreciate, we're kind of stuck in the 70s ourselves, but when you can make it yours and make it special to you and your world and make it say something, individual that you want to say, that you want to express to this earth. Like, this is your moment. You're on stage. What are you going to say?
I guess my feeling is the one band that Slayer weren't listening to when they were writing Rain and Blood was Slayer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're listening to old 70s metal, they're listening to, 80s hardcore, they're listening to a whole bunch of stuff.
Sure.
And that's how they ended up with Slayer.
Yeah.
And now we've got a whole generation of kids who think the only thing they can listen to and sound like is Slayer.
Yeah.
Or, insert band here.
Yeah, throw some Steely Dan in the mix. You got to Slayer, make it smooth. I don't know.
But I think, when a band like Darsombra comes through and people don't know what to make of them, my hope is that somebody will be like, well, I'm going to make this music, and could be nobody likes it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's my music.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And we do hear those stories every now and again.
And we would hope for that.
I mean, I've been doing music for a lot of years now, so every once in a blue moon, there'll be somebody who'll come out of the woodwork and be like, "Man, you just did this thing, and it wasn't like anything else," and it made me decide to, try to do something outside the box too, and that's really nice. I mean, that's
why you do it.
I do it to just kind of. I do it because that's the kind of music I want to hear in the world that I'm not hearing, And then if it inspires other people, that's just like a gift to me than anything. Like, what? I inspired you? It's like
but look where you come from. Brian's first major concert as a child, he was 10 years old. I'm gonna give away a number. It was 1977. and his father took him and his 4-year-old brother on a surprise trip to see Kiss at the Patriot Center? The Capitol Center in D.C. Brian was a huge Kiss fan. And I think in yoga there's a concept of Shakti Pat, where the Shakti is like a fiery energy within you, and Pat means like sort of to give or to fall into the hands or something like that. So the idea is like if your teacher performs Shakti Pat with you, they're transferring their Kundalini energy or just Kundalini energy to you. They're able to transfer this blissful cosmic experience to you. You had a Kiss Shakti Pat experience at that show, I think. I could be totally wrong, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like for this small child to see this show, to be so wowed by Kiss in 1977, I mean, really at the top of their game, that sent you on a life's journey that you could not do anything but follow.
Yeah.
Like that was your assignment in this body as this human being.